Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Bringing you another shop update this week. We got a bunch of the siding up. Enjoy the video. So here is all the siding we picked up. Kind of dirty, but it has kind of this rust. It looks kind of like Corten steel where it's got that natural rust look. Almost looks kind of leathery to me. I got a bunch cut already. It's about a foot wide. And we're gonna go vertical. We have the first few on here. I think it looks pretty sharp. Came in a bit from the corner, drew a plumb line. We're gonna cap this corner with something afterwards. I'm just working my way down. Bent a aluminum drip edge. And all I'm doing is making sure the bottoms are relatively tight. We bent our own drip edges because we attempted to. We were trying to get. We had an extra, so we were gonna. If you can imagine, this would be the drip edge, and we bend this at 90. But as you can see, we put it in the brake, and the brake wouldn't. Our brake isn't strong enough to bend 22 gauge steel like this. Originally we thought we could do a matching rust look drip edge along the bottom, but we'll just end up, black will look sharp, it'll wrap around, and doors will both be black anyway, so. And maybe we'll do the corners in black, I'm not sure yet. So when cutting these, this is officially the first shop jig here. Simple few pieces of 2x4 and some scrap I had. It's just a cradle for my skill saw to slice. Now, so I cut a bunch for the side of the building and some for the back of the building. Problem with that skill saw is it cut a little bit at an angle here. It's an old skill saw, it wasn't perfectly straight. So some of these pieces where it doesn't sit nice, I'm gonna take the grinder and back cut a little bit. Some of them don't. Before I back cut those pieces, there's a bit of a gap here, but it sits nice and tight towards the back. But I want it to look like these pieces back here where it's nice touching the bottom. There's like a bit of there's a 1/4 inch gap here, so I'm gonna back cut any pieces that don't sit nice on the bottom. Okay, so now the majority of the house side is on. Gonna come back later and figure out a corner for these. We already went ahead and put the drip edge on this side. And I do the same thing, work my way from the back to the front. Get rid of these lovely logos. When I look at the building like this, all I could think about is it's needs a bunch of windows, but we could always come back and do that after. Okay, so the lower half of the back of the garage is done. The reason I couldn't go all the way up to the top is these pieces that we got off of Facebook Marketplace. They were 28 feet long when we got there, and I had to cut them down to fit into our cargo trailer. So I got 2 8-foot pieces and a 12-foot piece from each 28-footer. So these are all 8 feet long. We're gonna build a transition piece up at the top and then continue up to the peak. Here's a quick shot of the back cut I'm talking about. I don't touch the front edge. Back cut upwards. It allows this to keep its slight slope down for any water, but it allows this to be nice and closed. Keeps this angle closed at the front, helps prevent any bugs going up in there, making nests and stuff. Not necessary, just an extra step you can take. And the soffits down below. Did that drip edge piece with the foam gaskets at the end. This is what the back looks like. We ended up using the same drip edge that was made for in between here. Spray painted the bottom black because when you buy a coil, one side's always white, so you would have seen a white on the other side, so it's all blacked out. Just gotta come back and trim off this gable piece, but this has all been capped in aluminum. Soffit all the way along the back. That's the gable piece that was with the siding with a little drip edge kick out. That was an aluminum piece that was made on the brake. Here's a closer shot. Soffit all the way down. Front. Other side of the shop. A quick tip for any time you need to install thin gauge metal like J-trim and Soffit. Typically these are the screws that you would get from your supplier. They would be a pan head and they would match whatever color you picked. In this case they're black and they're number 6 Robbies and they're about 5/8 inches long, which are great when the metal you're working with is exposed. But anytime you're putting up thin gauge metal like this J-trim and this Soffit, which is just a relatively thin metal, especially where it's not going to be seen, this is the best tool to use to put it up. This is a crown stapler and you can use whatever brand that your preference is, but it uses these staples and you can get these in a galvanized that won't rust outdoors, and you can staple up anything that's hidden. Anywhere that's going to be covered later, I would use these staples instead of, and then anywhere that's exposed that you can see, I would use these screws. Here's a great example of this. That is that J-trim. It could be stapled up to a piece of wood or whatever your substrate is to hold it. All these Soffit pieces just have staples. It helps when you're working overhead. You don't have to fiddle with screws or anything. You can staple it all the way down, and then the fascia piece we're using, when it goes on, it will cover those staples anyway. And then once this piece is up here, I could use those panhead screws to hold this piece in place. A lot of these pieces are over 12 feet long, so it's nice when you're up on a ladder. You have an extra set of hands, especially when you're putting J-trim up there. It's nice that you could just use a stapler and shoot a few in, and even after the fact you could put screws in if it makes you feel better. But if anytime you're at the end here, you don't see any staples that I used, it's up there secure, and we just use the pan heads on the little pieces that you'd see from the ground. You can load this up. A full clip of these could do a whole lot of Soffit. You can work overhead, shoot things in place, and you can be almost hands-free. You can put a few staples in a 12-foot long piece and it's held there, and you can go back and screw it later if that's what you want to do. But another thin gauge metal that these work great with is drywall corner bead. You always see drywall corner bead put up with those drywall nails or drywall screws, but once you put drywall corner bead up with a few staples, you'll never go back to screws. Still haven't decided what we're doing with the corners yet. Probably gonna build it out with wood and then cap it with the same black aluminum. So it'll be like a border of black with the edge black aluminum up. Hits the Soffit. It's got that nice kind of rusty leathery look. It's kind of a hit or miss whether people like it or don't like it. I kind of dig it, but the price was right. This is the side where all the sun comes in from the south. Has the sun almost the whole day, so maybe next spring hoping to put a window up in the gable end there. With these panels and the structure, we can just cut a hole out after the fact and pop a window in there. We'll let all the light shine through in the middle of the shop. Gone ahead and painted the curbs with 2 coats of black, and probably gonna put a coat of clear epoxy. Have some epoxy left over from another kit. That's just a matte finish we might throw on that. Preview of jobs to come. This is a countertop going into a house east of us. This big long piece is actually going to be cut on an angle for a bay window, and there'll be benches underneath it. So I've been working on oak legs to support the front end. The kitchen is this golden oak color, so we took this is actually a wooden newel post for stairs, meant to be like a 4x4 post that I ripped in half on the table saw. Did a coat of golden oak and 3 coats of polyurethane semi-gloss to match their kitchen. Those will be the 2 front legs for the big long countertop. Picked up the man door yesterday, custom made for us. Looks absolutely gorgeous. A nice kind of satin black look. I like the 2-panel design. Epoxy floor is already getting a little bit of dirt on it, but that's okay. Got a temporary light on the ceiling and a work light here just so we can see. If you want me to do a video on staining and varnishing, let me know in the comments. A few tips and tricks on getting a nice finish like this. Soon we're gonna have to build a frame across here for the garage door rails to go to. So we might end up putting a few more joists in there, put a floor in there and do storage for tools that we don't use all the time. But like I said, potential for a window to go up top there. Another big thing that needs to be done sooner or next spring. Gotta pull all this dirt out of here and form a nice concrete ramp out the front to meet the driveway, because that's just a pile of dirt and we got some river rock in here temporarily. But this all has to be pulled out. Probably gonna form another thing of concrete to ramp down. There's still lots left to do here. We got the 2 doors at the front. The whole front needs to be cladded. We got electrical. So please hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of those updates. Thanks for watching.